What had so much hype about it, but was actually terrible? The Power Glove. If you weren't there at the time, you can't imagine how awesome Northeast's kids thought that this thing was going to be. Then you finally played something with one and tried to convince yourself that it was indeed awesome before slowly, oh so slowly, accepting that it was lame as heck. Alestra was a fat substitute that had no calories. Chips would have no fat content and less calories. It was a craze until they realized it gave everyone the shits. Like for some people a few handful were enough for explosive zero warning and containable shits. The news called it anal leakage. I distinctly remember bags of chips Lay's I think that actually had warning may cause anal leakage printed on them near the nutrition facts. Some years back, there was some asshole that hyped up a huge live event of him being eaten by a snake in a digestion proof suit. I thought it was incredibly stupid, but kept hearing about from co-workers. Day after the event, I hear he bitched out as it was working on swallowing him, so they had to kill the snake to save his dumbass. Edit it was eaten alive. A Discovery Channel special. The guy was Paul Rosalie, and supposedly the snake did not get killed. He had to make the snake defend itself to even attack him, as it wasn't interested in him when he acted like prey. I remember that shit. So far this is the only one of these hype things I actually paid attention to. Google. I met my husband on Google, which is pretty embarrassing to explain to people. That's actually a really cool anecdote. Lovers from the transition period. 2020 remember that meme showing how all the holidays were on weekends. At least Cinco de Mayo was on Taco Tuesday and the whole entire month of April was 420 instead of just a day. Halloween was on a full moon as well, and on a Saturday. Anthem. The flight mechanics and Iron Man-ish badass feeling of huge explosions and gamma play is so damn cool to have just let it rot in a gutter. What a waste. Such potential. I know someone who is a voice actor who voiced a character in Anthem. They pretty much said that it was great to be in the booth recording the lines. The director was very encouraging and was saying how great the performance was and how they are going to get some great animation for the character. Once the game was out, my friend looked up their character on YouTube to find their performance was paired with some generic looped animation that didn't really match the character at all. They were quite disappointed. I assume there were some budget cuts mid-production. Quibi. I saw ads and promotions for it constantly for months leading up to its release, and they had some pretty famous celebrities in the shows. Then it disappeared after like a month of its release. The company I worked for at the time offered a choice: free Netflix or free Quibi. After looking at thousands of accounts, I saw one that had chosen Quibi over Netflix, and that person probably already had Netflix. It was the owner's son, Joseph Quibi, of the Connecticut Quibis. Geraldo Rivera opening Al Capone's safe. I watched it live and laughed my ass off. He dug himself such an epic hole with all of the desperate hype leading up to the big reveal. I remember watching that. I remember the look of total defeat and humiliation when he just mumbled "There's nothing here, I'm sorry," walked off screen, and reportedly went straight to a bar and got blackout drunk. Connie 2012. Proof that it does take a little more than awareness to solve the world's problems. The only thing I remember about Connie 2012 was that the guy who started the movement had a mental breakdown and stripped down naked in public. 3'D TV. I had a 3'D TV. I think I used that feature once. I got that 3D PlayStation TV that launched at like $500 for the low cost of $12. I used the 3D a handful of times, and will admit the full screen split screen thing for the like 3 games that supported it was pretty damn impressive. I hardly use the 3D. Damn good TV though. Colors pop beautifully. Gaia. Google Glass got a lot of hype, but then it was gone. Back when Google Glass had beta testers, I met a guy at a conference that was a tester. It seemed kind of cool at first, but I found myself being weirded out with every conversation we had. Imagine knowing someone who is always holding their phone up, as if they are constantly recording everything you do. Are you gonna feel comfortable talking to that person, or are you gonna be wondering if and why they are recording everything, and what they're gonna do with those videos? That's the feeling. That Google Glass gave me from the other end, and I feel like Google really didn't understand how weird it was to be on the outside looking in. I feel like hoverboards were seriously misnamed. I expected Back to the Future, not Back to the Hospital with bone fractures. Mini CDs. I was stationed in Japan and had one over there. It was awesome. I could put like 5 hours of music on one disc, and they were so small and compact and easy to carry a bunch around. You're thinking of mini disc and the parent commenter too, probably. Two different things. Mini CDs are literally just a CD, but with the outer couple inches chopped off. If you've ever noticed the smaller inner circle in a CD drive tray, that's what that's for. They hold like 20 MB of music. Edit same size as a Gamma Cube disc, by the way. Just those are DVD instead of CD. The 2012 apocalypse. The entire 2012 apocalypse was just bad logic to me. It was the end of the Mayan calendar. What's more likely? They predicted the end of the world, or they looked at each other and said, hey, we are 1,000 years ahead. Should we call it a day and get some drinks? I had a professor in college who was of indigenous Mexican descent, and someone asked her about the predicted end of the world. This was around 2010. Her response was, well, the Mayans were creating the calendar and expanding it out into the future. And around the time they were at 2012, there was a massive Spanish invasion and their society collapsed. That is just where they happened to be at that time. Edit getting a lot of messages about the timeline of Mayan civilization, causes of their collapse, and specifics about the quote. This is a 10-year-old memory, but the point remains. Mayans stopped creating the calendar upon the collapse of their civilization, and at that time they had reached 2012. If you look at it from outside the use or just now, since it's almost 10 years later, it looks like it was heavily exaggerated due to pop culture instead of actual facts. The Mayans never said when the end of the world would be. The calendar was a repeating cycle. It's like thinking the car will stop working when you hit 999,999 on the odometer. That one pizza party, specifically in our elementary school, like 8 boxes of pizza, and they limit us to 2 slices each. But each slice was actually one regular slice cut in half, and no seconds. Even though there's 4 unto-shaped boxes. Yeah, duck that. Ted. Back in the early 2000s, billboards went up all over Denver saying, Ted is coming. Are you ready for Ted? And a whole bunch of other cryptic Ted stuff. Nobody knew who or what Ted was. It escalated to the point everyone was talking about Ted. Turns out Ted was an airline. It lasted like a month and failed. Everyone is saying Gabbo this and Gabbo that. SpongeBob Sweet Victory music, but got switched to Travis Scott's sicko mode in the Super Bowl. That one hockey rink's got you covered. Floyd Mayweather vs Logan Paul. Glad I didn't pay for it. I didn't even know this had hype. I thought it was an April Fool's joke and then just a weird publicity stunt. 2020. 2021 was supposed to rock after 2020, and it most definitely has not. Welcome to 2021, where nothing can possibly go wrong. New Year's Eve. Every year. Segways. Not necessarily terrible, but incredible. Over the top hype. Interestingly, those segways paved the way for a host of other personal electric vehicles, especially self-balancing ones. Fee Festival. Link. Shout out to the one time there was a dude who went on record to say he was the only dude who enjoyed Fee Festival because he won the ability to go in a giveaway, and seeing a bunch of rich snobs in misery was incredibly funny to him. Chicken soup for my middle class soul is how he put it. I think he won it on an office raffle or something. Raiding Area 51. The Naruto runner made it all just stupid funny. Fee Festival. Those Google glasses. Whatever happened to them? Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook have all gotten patents on them in the last 2 years. It's coming. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Awful, and I don't actually believe it's part of HP. Basically everything after the last movie has been them milking the franchise and ruining it. New game looks good though. Adulthood. I'd like a refund. No Man's Sky at launch. Granted, it did got a lot better afterwards. The redemption arc for No Man's Sky is surreal. Better plot than most movies. I love how the game has evolved for me personally. At first I was doing the missions and got pretty bored with it, but then they added the ability to make your own base. So then it became a base building game. Then I found out about the Galactic Hub, where players claimed a certain selection of planets with a home base. I made it my mission to find it. It took an incredible amount of time and became this kind of adventure puzzle game where I was looking up stuff on the internet about how to find certain black holes so I could warp closer to the hub. Eventually I made it and found a shit ton of planets with bases. Some active but a lot of them dead. By then, the game had the ability to harvest valuable minerals indefinitely with solar energy. So I hopped around from one planet to the next, scrounging empty bases looking for a big payday. The game became like this treasure hunting space scavenger game. It's been a fantastic journey. You're forgetting the fact you can have a trade fleet. I roleplay as a rogue trader in No Man's Sky. I've played it since release and damn, it's so good now. On further notice it appears that I've sold several people on the game. Hello games, hire me PLS. My skills are crippling arrogance and talking too much. Fee Festival. We all saw the documentary and what Andy was willing to do to get water released. Hands across America. My mom was a teacher in LA when this happened. She said the school she worked at organized buses to Skid Row in downtown LA. I guess to show solidarity with the homeless. She said after the long chain of hand holding and it was over, a man experiencing homelessness asked, "Am I supposed to feel different now?" I was like 8 when this happened. In the 80s you could do things like bus elementary children to Skid Row for the day. Anthem video game. F in the chat for my buddy who dropped $90 on a shiny disc. Game of Thrones Season 8. I missed the series finale because I was out of town and could only get a flight back after the episode aired. After each episode before that, I would usually have a few texts between friends about what happened, things we liked, and where we thought the show was headed, the usual fan chat. I got off the airplane and nothing. No texts at all. No oh shit, or holy crap, did you see that? Just a weird, unnerving silence. I eventually texted a friend asking how it was and all I got was, "Yep, it ended." Nothing else. It was just a bleak, emotionless, dismissive answer covering a mountain of contempt at what she just saw. The next day I knew exactly what she meant. Gabbo. Well kids, this is where you would watch Itchy and Scratchy, except they are on the Gabbo show now. So, here's Eastern Europe's favorite cat and mouse team, Worker and Parasite. The live action remake of The Lion King. It had no soul. It was terrible. The Lion King in the early 90s was my favorite movie as a kid. I was so disappointed in the new one. And I usually love whatever Jon Favreau does. To that point, the live action of Mulan was also awful. It's almost like they should stop remaking animations into live actions. Area 51 raid. Still can't believe a human being ran Naruto style through the desert toward a military base. I mean that guy actually exists. Suicide Squad. Movie was so hyped, like it was the second coming of Jesus. Then we saw Ito LOL. I'm not into superhero movies. And the hype got to me. We went. And we were perplexed the entire time. Then I was validated because everyone else was confused too. Then came the memes. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but when I was turning 18, the legal adult age to drink in Canada, I was hyped about clubbing and parties and bar hopping, only to find out it's way more of a pain than it's worth. You go out and spend $100 or more on watered down expensive ass drinks and shitty music, then walk in the freezing cold to the next place. Plus the Uber taxi home. Not worth it. Not to mention you can totally forget having any kind of conversation with anyone because you can't hear over the music. So, like everyone else, you just pretend to hear what everyone else is saying. It's so stupid. The metaverse. Probably. Being a grown up. Edit, thanks for all the feedback, y'all. You do make some incredible points about economic freedom, agency, and buying all the Lego sets you could want. Having way more household chores and involvement with corporate America really fueled my answer. I love knowing adulthood has brought many of you so much joy. Keep trucking, fellow redditors.